Good morning. Good morning. It's so nice that my computer recognizes my face still. I am the Reverend J. Wolin, your settled minister here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Sarasota. We especially welcome our visitors today, both on campus as well as online on YouTube, and we invite you to find out more about the church. If you're here in person, there's a sign up right outside the door, and online, if you go to our website, there is a register. You can register on the website for a visitor page. And everyone is welcome, visitors, to attend any of the events at this church. Of course, we invite you for coffee and conversation and the multiple tables that you can sign up for things outside after service. And we look forward to getting to know each other. So today we have a few announcements. The first is somebody from the auction, Joanne. Okay.
I have to set my timer here so I don't go over my 2 minutes allotment. You laugh, but we won't get another one if we don't. Okay, so I'm Joanne Glady, and I'm a member of your auction committee this year, the Celebrate 2023 auction. There's a couple new things this year, and the first point I want to make is the date and the time. It is a Saturday this year. Not Sunday after services like it's been traditionally. We have a 3-hour window on Saturday, February 4th from noon to 3 o'clock. We're going to have a live auction this year, as well as our traditional silent auction, and a wonderful sit-down lunch with a Mardi Gras theme. Pick up your beads at the table if you'd like to share. Okay. So first, the date. It's very important. It's a Saturday this year. Okay, second, this is the really important thing. No auction is complete without donations, and we are running behind this year. Last year at this time, we had almost 100 donations, and this year, I don't want to tell you, but we don't quite make it to 40 yet. So come on, guys. I know you all want to donate. Get out there, fill out the form, or go online when you go home. The form is really easy, but we also have a paper one for those of us who are not that literate. And, just get it done, all right? No more excuses. We only have 2 more weeks to get your auction items in. All right, so I urge you to sign up. You can do it here. You can do it at home. We need everything. We need dinners. We need lunches. We need trips to the airport. Whatever you can provide, we'll be very, very happy to receive. All right, and lastly, I got 13 seconds. Their tickets for the auction are on sale starting today. All right, they're out in the courtyard. You must have a ticket to join the auction, and that gets you your lunch and your bidding number. So important, donate, donate, donate. Oh, there's my dinger. Thank you.
Yeah, I just know us as Unitarian Universalists like to talk, so I try to keep it to 2 minutes so we can get enough announcements in. Also, the Art Council would like to let you know to join them after the service today over at the Lexow Gallery. They'll be having a closing reception for the exhibit of works by 2 of our member artists, Marvin Fields and Penny Soldados. I hope I pronounced that correct. Penny works in fiber and fabric, Marvin in oil and other media. And meet them and enjoy their art. I know I've gotten to enjoy their art for the whole this past month. Quick announcement of embracing our differences. We have, if you didn't see in the newsletter, we did choose a piece of artwork, or received the choice of a piece of artwork. The Women of the Bluest Eyes, the opening anniversary celebration is January 22nd, and we'll have a customized church tour on February 2nd. And for those who don't know, this afternoon at 4 o'clock is my installation. And so if you can attend, you are all welcome. Hopefully you've heard about it already. Also, right after this service here, we will have a new member joining in the minister's office, which is in the building right opposite of this building behind you. So if you are interested in becoming a member, please join us about 12 o'clock, about 15 minutes, hopefully 15 minutes after the service. And you can join the church, meet myself, the president, the membership team, and we hope you join. Also, one last reminder, next week, if you show up at 10:45, you're going to be either too late or too early for the start of service, as we are going to two services, 10 and 11:30. As well, Forum will be at 10. Children's RE will be the same schedule at 10. They'll be in service first, and then afterwards, for all ages, they will go out for children's religious education. Let's take a deep breath after all of that. Okay. Our opening reading today is from President Lyndon Johnson on the presentation to Congress of the Voting Rights Bill in 1965. Rarely are we met with the challenge not to our growth or abundance or the welfare of our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for African Americans is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a person profited if they shall gain the whole world and lose their own soul? So please join me now in saying the words of affirmation, which are printed in your order of service and will be displayed on the screen as we light our chalice. As we light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, we affirm our second principle: justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. I now invite you to rise in body and/or spirit for our opening hymn, number 168, One More Step.
So nice to see everybody here today. Happy New Year. Today's story, Lulu, the One and Only, by Lynette Mawhinney, illustrated by Jenny Poe. My name is Luliwa Lovington, but everyone calls me Lulu. It means pearl in Arabic. Mama tells me you are unique and gorgeous, just like a black pearl. She wears these beautiful earrings all the time. They are from her mother in Kenya. My big brother's name is Zane, and it means gift. He is silly, and he makes me laugh a lot. Being in a part black and part white family seems to confuse people around us. They say a lot of mean things to us because they think we don't fit in. Kids tease Zane, "You're the blackest guy on the team. The coach is really your dad?" When I play in the park, the other moms think that my mama is my sitter. What do you charge? We're looking for one too. When I'm out with Daddy, some people think I'm adopted. "Oh, that's so nice of you to give her a good home. Where did she come from?" Everyone else might be confused, but I'm not. I love my family. But being a mix of Mama and Daddy always brings around that question. I hate that question. What are you? What are you? So, what are you? What are you? What are you? Saying, do people ever ask you what you are? Yeah, it's annoying. But that's when I use my power phrase. Your power phrase? It helps people understand who you are, not what you are. I'm proud of our family and that I'm brown, but I am more than my skin. I want people to know what's inside of me too. When I get that question, I tell people, I am magic made from my parents. Dad taught me how to play hockey, and I love to study space with Mom. You know how good I am at so many things? Well, Mom and Dad have a ton to do with that. Wow, Zane is really smart. Now I need a power phrase too, and I need it fast. But how do I find my power phrase? The question is not what I am, but who I am. Well, I'm a good singer, and I'm fast and strong. I'm loving and kind. I'm a black pearl, unique and gorgeous. I've got to get this right. So the next day, Billy asked, "Hey, Lulu, what are you?" Oh, it was time. My power phrase, I'm Lulu Lovington, the one and only. Cool, said Billy. Do you like to sing? So we sat together at lunch and sang our favorite songs. The real treasure is inside, just like an oyster holds a pearl, and just like me. Lulu Lovington, the one and only. So as Lulu discovered, we've been taught even at an early age to question what a person is just by the color of their skin. But Billy illustrated perfectly how most children actually react once they get the answer. Cool, no big deal, no stigma, no preconceived ideas. Just another person living life the same as me. How wonderful would it be if adults could be so accepting? Now I invite our younger UUs to join me in the West Wing for some fun activities around centering and our core values. Thank you.
As always, beautiful, Tom. Thank you. Our centering words today are from James Baldwin, as quoted in the book, Bless This Child. For nothing is fixed forever and forever and forever. It is not fixed. The earth is always shifting. The light is always changing. The sea does not cease to grind down rock. Generations do not cease to be born, and we are responsible to them because we are the only witnesses that they have. End of reading. As we take a moment of silence, let us contemplate what we as individuals and as a congregation can do to empower African Americans so that they may obtain equity and justice in this lifetime. So in choosing a reading for today, I have to admit I was fascinated by there's this new artificial intelligence app called ChatGPT. And I'm going to tell you it is, I mean, I know there's this whole concern about high school like term papers. I think it is a much broader revolution than that, and it is fairly amazing, and it is going to change how we gain knowledge for better and worse in the future. So I did ask you today to write a poem based on the title Race, the Power of an Illusion, which is what the sermon today is based on, a class I'll be leading starting next week. So here it is from ChatGPT, Artificial Intelligence. Race, the power of an illusion, a societal divide, a confusion, a way to categorize and segregate, but why does it determine our fate? It's just a label, a superficial trait, yet it's used to discriminate. To hold some above and others below, it is time to let go of this harmful and destructive notion and work towards true equality and emotion. Embrace our differences, celebrate our diversity, and strive towards a world where we can all flourish and be free. Let's recognize and dismantle the systems that perpetuate this artificial and harmful state. Race is just a construct. It does not define us. It's time to rise above and trust in the power of humanity and unity to create a world of equality and opportunity, end quote. So, Chat GPT, huh? And in this moment, we want to give you the opportunity to create a little equality and break the illusion of separateness by integrating some of your money with the church as we take our offering. Please be as generous as you can. For those online or here on your cell phone, there's a link to donate in the description of the YouTube video or on our website, right under the description of today's service. Let this sacred time begin. Reading from Cornell West from the book Race Matters. In these downbeat times, we need as much hope and courage as we do vision and analysis. We must ascend the best of each other, even as we point out the vicious effects of our racial divide and the pernicious consequences of our maldistribution of wealth and power. We simply cannot enter the future at each other's throats, even as we acknowledge the weighty forces of racism, patriarchy, economic inequality, homophobia, and ecological abuse on our necks. We are at a crucial crossroad in the history of this nation, and we either hang together by combating these forces that divide and degrade us, or we hang separately. Do we have the intelligence, humor, imagination, courage, tolerance, love, respect, and the will to meet this challenge? Time will tell. None of us alone can save the nation or the world, but each of us can make a positive difference if we commit ourselves to do so. And now we will hear from the choir as they perform Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is also considered the Black national anthem. So what's race got to do with it? Well, starting this Wednesday, January 11th at 6:30, for 4 weeks, I will be leading an adult religious education class, watching the video Race, the Power of an Illusion. We will share our thoughts and experiences regarding racial issues and how they impact us. And I invite you all to join us, whether in person or online. The movie's initial focus is on the scientific study of the genetics of race, and the movie's conclusion is that skin pigmentation is the evolutionary effect of how close our ancestors lived to the equator. Yet, as the movie points out, just because there aren't other differences does not mean that race doesn't impact our lives and our world. And the movie goes on to tell the stories of the indigenous peoples of this country and other people of color, and how we as a country often through the manipulation of science, media, and the law, have oppressed these people. And I will encourage all who attend the class to be open and willing to share stories, their stories, but more importantly, though, be willing to listen to others' stories. I believe that is only by understanding other people's life experiences from their context that we can expand our view of the world and how it impacts our society. And by hearing each other's stories, we build relationships. And when we build relationships, we become emotionally connected to others. And when we become emotionally connected to others, we cannot stand idly by when injustice is inflicted upon them. It is through my experiences and the context of my life that I view race. My experiences as being part of a multiracial family and how to face how the ramifications of race impacted my family helped me transcend my earlier understanding of the impact that race has on members of our society. So I want to share with you one seminal event in my family that opened my eyes to exactly what race has to do about it. So if any of you travel by air, you know there's a requirement to take off your shoes when you go through security. Well, this requirement started many years ago after a shoe bomber incident. And soon after that incident, security at airports was not very consistent back in those days. And so some required you to take off your shoes, some didn't. And around this time, I was coming home from the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly with my teenage son, Will, and we went through airport security, and I asked the security guard, whether I had to take my shoes off or not, because honestly, it can be a pain in the neck sometimes. It's why I've gone to loafers over the years, honestly, when I travel. And he said, no, don't worry about it, just go on through. And as I walked through security, I heard the security person say to my son, please take off your sneakers. And my son, in one of those defiant teenage voices, replied, you just told that man over there he didn't have to take off his shoes. Why do I? And he refused to take off his shoes. Now, I have to admit, the first thought that flashed through my mind was, I do not want to miss this plane. I have to go to work tomorrow morning. I thought it, but in my deep restraint, I didn't say anything, for I heard my son. I listened. He didn't say to the guard, you just told my father he had to take his shoes off. He said, you told that man. So for those who do not know my family, both my children are Korean. We started our family through adoption. Thus, it was not evident merely by sight to the they're so cute. Oh my God, I remember. I remember that, and it's been a long time since then. Anyway, they're no longer naive. But it was not evident by sight to the security guard, right, that he was my son, or else maybe he would have gotten a free pass. And it was not that my son didn't want to identify me as his father per se, although, there have been times, especially when I'm dancing or doing something else foolish, that he might want not have people know his connection to me. But at the airport, in that moment, he didn't want to be judged as the son of a middle-aged white man in a golf shirt, right? He wanted to be judged for who he was as an individual, including his identity as a person of color. And he wanted to show the hypocrisy of profiling, and he also wanted, in his own way, to show a bit of defiance to a system that constantly subjected him to different treatment than what white people received. So he refused to budge from his position, and he forced them to take alternative measures to determine that he didn't have a bomb in his shoe. I don't know what they did, but they did something. And we didn't miss the plane. And I was unbelievably proud of him for standing up for himself, while at the same time unbelievably worried about the repercussions that awaited him if he continued this path of defiance. And I was taught growing up, and again, it's all about the way we're raised and what we're taught when we're young. And I was taught growing up to expect discrimination. I was taught that growing up Jewish, that without question Christians would discriminate against me. And this was due to my parents' experiences in their life, when they could not get into most colleges because of their Jewish religion. They could not get jobs in most large corporations because of their Jewish religion. And so also remembering the time when they grew up was in the specter of the Holocaust, and they were taught by their parents to always fear that one day Christians would try to exterminate us. And I was taught to accept it, keep your head down, work harder, be smarter, be resilient, and survive. Well, the Jewish people had over 3,000 years of experience of being oppressed by others, so I assumed there was some wisdom in that. However, my experiences have not been my parents', right? I have had plenty of opportunities and have experienced very little overt anti-Semitism directed at me. Now, granted, these last few years, particularly after Charlottesville, that tension has risen up, but that was not my experience growing up, especially in New York City, which had a large Jewish population. So I found there was more to life than merely surviving. And due to my positive experiences, I taught my son that he should demand to be treated equally. And his experiences have that has just not been the case. I think I fell into a trap that is common to many humans. We take our own experiences and we extrapolate them out to the rest of the world, and we assume that everyone sees the world the same way we do, or at least should see the world the same way, and if they don't, we often tend to invalidate their experiences. But after the airport experience, during a very long discussion, my son shared with me some of his challenges and life experiences that I was unaware of, or previously may have just passed off as teenage angst. But up until then, I really had no idea what my son's experiences were as a person of color and how they impacted him. And those discussions made me rethink and question why certain teachers at school were particularly hard on him, or I reassessed why certain girls stopped dating him after he met their parents, or I re-examined all the pain and frustration he felt each time he was stopped by police at the mall or while driving. And this frustration built up into the start of a resistance against discrimination that day at the airport. I then and there knew that my life could never be the same. My eyes had been open, eyes that had seen things but rationalized them, an intellect that understood the need for justice but didn't feel the pain of justice. But that day I felt my son's pain. Racism is not just an intellectual exercise when it impacts someone you love. I think the UUA has spent a lot of energy and education regarding the history and existence of institutional racism. I think it's been excellent. We need to be intentional about learning the history of racism of America, no matter what politicians may tell us. And we need to teach that in our schools. We need to understand the real harm that our history has inflicted on non-white people. And in this documentary, we will watch, it will tell stories of individuals and how systemic policies, practices, and biases impacted Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Now being phrased, if you've ever heard the phrase BIPOC, that's what that stands for. One particular story I just want to raise up today, there's just not enough time in one service. It's how armed service veterans of color were systematically excluded from receiving federal housing loans after they returned from World War II. And as well, through the process of redlining, they were not allowed to move into certain white neighborhoods. And so this blatant discrimination certainly impacted their ability to accumulate wealth for themselves and to provide opportunities for their children, opportunities many white people, including myself, and I'm assuming many of us, have benefited from. So what's race got to do with it, we might ask? This is all history. We can't change history, but we can learn from history, and we can change the future, and we can repair the harm that we have done from history. But President Barack Obama, in a speech he did on race while he was running for president, discussing the white immigrant experience, said, and I quote, "They are anxious about their futures and feel their dreams slipping away. In an era of stagnant wages and global competition, opportunities come to be seen as a zero-sum game in which your dreams come at my expense," end quote. And he goes on to speak about how politicians use both white and Black anger to create fear and garner support. I want to focus on his comment that said opportunity comes to be seen as a zero-sum game, raising the question as to whether power is just a finite thing that must be shared among all who exist, and there's only so much to go around. Or conversely, is power unlimited, and everything in the universe, every being in the universe can have it or tap into it? Now, from a theological perspective, do we think the universe is small and divisible, or do we believe in a spirit of life that is universal, expansive, and unlimited? I believe that just as physicists have determined that the universe is still expanding, that we can view the concept of power as expansive. However, in the society we live in, there is a systemic control of power and resources. So we need to work to let oppressed people have the power to lift themselves up. And we should use our power to work collaboratively with those without power, without the fear that we are going to lose something in that equation. In order to live out our principles of justice, equity, and compassion for all, we as individuals and as a religious organization have to be engaged in the larger community to make this happen. And I think we must start with the hypothesis that the world can change for the better. And one thing we know for certain that is constant is change. So we really have to work on the better part. And I think if we look at the overarching view of American history, we can see how much has changed in the course of American history. Our country was formed nearly 250 years ago by mostly white, wealthy landowners. Legalized slavery ended approximately 155 years ago. Women attained the right to vote just over 100 years ago. Historic civil rights legislation just passed about 60 years ago. Progress is not a linear equation. It is fluid and a dynamic concept. It requires constant attention, intention, and action. and adaptation as well. So be encouraged that the actions that we take today can impact the future positively. But good intentions are not enough. We must take action to see change. And we may not see the change tomorrow or next year, or maybe even in our lifetime, but we have to have the faith that one day, if we keep working for justice, it will become a reality. So throughout my racial justice education experience, one of the questions I'm consistently asked is, who am I accountable to? Well, I am accountable to my children first and foremost, and then I am accountable to all people who are oppressed, because all who are oppressed are someone's child. And if it is not right to happen to my child, it is not right to happen to anyone's child. So lastly, I am also accountable to myself, right, to uphold my own personal and religious integrity, to act in congruence with my beliefs and values. So these are my stories. I share them with you. They are now your stories. I ask you to think about these issues, to start and continue to share your stories, and then expand who you share your stories with. Widen your circle. Take a few risks. Transcend your environment and engage with others who you do not know. If you find out nothing else from watching this video from the class, it will be that we are more alike than different. Not just physiologically, but in our hopes and our dreams. So do not give up hope. Let us stay vigilant. Let us stay connected, and let us move forward with love and openness in our hearts and our minds, so that one day our descendants, when asked the question, what's race got to do with it, they can answer nothing. May one day, may it be so. Amen. I invite you to rise in body and spirit for our closing hymn, number 116, I'm on my way. We'll do verses 1, 2, 4, and 5. And in verse 2, we're going to change sister to friend. Friends. Okay. All right. Sit. You can sit. This is a little longer closing reading. I want to make you all stand. It's by Richard Wright, 12 million black, from his book, 12 Million Black Voices. The differences between black folk and white folk are not blood or color, and the ties that bind us are deeper than those that separate us. The common road of hope which we traveled has brought us into stronger kinship than any words, laws, or legal claims. Look at us and know us, and you will know yourselves, for we are you, looking back at you from the dark mirror of our lives. What do we black folk want? We want what others have, the right to share in the upward march of American life, the only life we remember or have ever known. Please join me now in extinguishing the chalice, which the words will be up on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for your presence here today. Thank you.